Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for another CTC software webinar. Today we're going to be talking about the project suite again, and this is Site Design Series Part 6, and we're going to focus on labeling today. So if you're watching this live, appreciate you being here. This will also be available on the YouTube channel, our YouTube channel, in a day or two if you want to rewatch it. And as always, don't miss another webinar. You can sign up on our events page for any upcoming webinars. As we go along here, if you have any questions, please enter them into the chat portion, and I will try to get to them during the broadcast. Otherwise, I certainly will at the end of this. My name is Tony Crick. I'm the Civil Product Manager here at CTC Software. And as I said, this is a continuation of our site design series. So in this series, we've been showing you some of the ways that CTC software tools, specifically our project suite of tools, can be used to help save time during your design process and make things more efficient as you go along, and then allow for quick editing data, updating as you go along. So we've taken a land development site from start to sort of a finish here, and today we're continuing on. So as I mentioned again, we're focusing on our project suite. It's one of our CIM suite of tools. This one is specifically intended for the everyday Civil 3D user creating design and production drawings. Currently, it still works in our version, back to version 2020. As you probably know out there, Civil 3D recently released version 2025. And with that, we will have an update coming out also with that one, and we will not support version 2020 any longer. So if you're not up to at least version 2020 and you have our tools, I suggest that you update as soon as possible. And all of our updates can be found within our tools for our specific release. So what are the CIM Project Suite of tools? It's a whole suite of tools for everyday design and production. It's set up to automate time-consuming tasks, and it's built directly into Civil 3D for consistency and familiarity. We have no proprietary files. Everything that we use comes from something that you created within Civil 3D that we draw upon. As you can see from the ribbon bar there, we have tools for survey, piping, grading, corridors. We have our general section with Label Genie, which we're going to be focusing on today. We have a data wizard there that we can do quantity takeoffs, set up legends, and then to finish things off, we have a sheet generator, which helps in the production of sheet sets. So why CIM project suites? They're going to help you save time during design and production process. And you can then save any of those setups that you've created as templates, which will help to maintain consistency and avoid surprises, and also help speed things up. And then new members can come and pretty much plug and go with those templates, which flattens the learning curve for any new team members that you might have. So as I said, this is part 6 of our site design series. If you haven't seen any of the other ones, in part 1, we did existing conditions where we did some survey and platting and quantity removals and showed how our tools can help there. Then we did some preliminary grading, and then we did some refined grading of lots and surfaces for you are using our AutoGrader, mainly our AutoGrader tool, and then generating volumes with Earthwork Processor. And our last one was about our pipe tools and the design, how that speeds you up. So with that, let's get into the drawing here today and see what we can show you. Okay, so here's our site right here. We created these profiles last time with our piping tools. We graded this out using Label Genie. We created or not Label Genie, I'm sorry. We created a surface using AutoGrader in a couple of different ways here, which is this surface right here. I'll just turn it on real quick for those of you who haven't joined us before and haven't seen what we did with it. Quick background. So there's our surface for this phase one of this whole site. It's a big site, commercial and residential site going in here. But we created this surface right here. We did our piping. We did all of our preliminary road grading using AutoGrader and showed how we didn't need to create for a site this small, specifically this phase one, that we didn't need to use corridors and we could get through that using AutoGrader. So with that, as I said, today we're going to focus on Label Genie. I'm going to show you some of the things that we can do with Label Genie to help automate some of those tedious labeling tasks. So let me open up Label Genie here and show you pretty much how it works here. So as I said, we draw everything from your Civil 3D styles. So anything we're pulling from here, any of our labeling, any of our labeling types right here, pretty much come from the Annotate tab. If you can do it in your Annotate tab, we can do it here in Label Genie, but we can do it en masse with any one of these and then save those out with a list of templates like I have here. And I'm willing to share any of these templates. If you see anything in here or you just want them, just contact us here and we're more than willing to share these here as a jumping off point. Mainly, you're of course going to have to refine it, but if you put it on a network drive somewhere for you, then others can get at it too. So let me just show you around Label Genie here a little bit. So right here we have, we can get at the same ones we can get up here. We have our suite licensing. We have some other things here. Our help tab right here will bring up the user's guide. We have helpful videos on all of our tools, of which, as I mentioned, this will be one of them in the future. Just click on this. Help and support will get us there. Clicking on the About right here will show you what version that you're currently on. And we can get some other system information out of here. If you're not at 24.5, I recommend you get there as soon as possible. And just click this button right here. That will send you to our website for an easy download of it. So let's get to some of the labeling, typical labeling things that you might do on a site such as this. So let me first show you some of the things that we're pulling from over here. So we have our everything normal that you would do in Civil 3D set up here, our surfaces. That was created, as I mentioned, using AutoGrader. All of our styles and settings, which are in the drawings, we can get at right here. We're going to be focusing on mainly our piping label styles today with our pipe networks. Right there, our pipe with our pipe list, we can draw from that. So we have several pipe lists in here, or parts lists for our pipes. And then our label styles will be leveraging that right here. We have a number of styles in here and they will all be available with Label Genie. So with that, we can label some, we created these pads and they have feature lines attached to them, but if we want to grade that and we want to put some spots on there, I'm going to show you how we can pull spots for just these feature lines to put on there, so they don't have to come necessarily from the surface. But the trick that comes with that is in our label styles right here in our notes, I have this style right here that has elevation attached to it and makes it more versatile for doing labeling for this. So I'll show you that in a minute here, but it's just a label style that has elevation attached to it that will then pin to the points of my feature line. And again, if you would like this style, I can get that over to you as well. It's not that hard to make, but why do it if I have it? So let's start with labeling these lot lines right here. So we're going to label these, or not these lot lines, these grading pads right here. So if we needed spots on here to show the grading contractor what they needed to do, where the spots were, maybe the surveyors need to stake it, what have you. So open up Label Genie. And I already built the template for this. I'll show you how to do that natively. But I would come in here and I would say for this particular one, I would say general note. So that's what I showed you over there in the toolbar. Then our anchor objects will be our feature lines, which are those. And then we want to go by the vertices, and what vertices do we want to label? It's all of those right there. And then we come to our formatting tab, and as you saw, I showed you that. These are the only ones that are over there. Label Genie will focus on your label type to steer you to your label styles. So you don't have to go hunt and peck through a whole boatload of things to find those out there. This will sort of streamline the focus for that. So as I said, I made one here, and I'm going to load it just to show you how quick we can do this. And I'm going to do this a number of times today. But I created this one right here called Spot on Feature. And when I load this, every time you go to do this, if you had any specific settings that you were using in here, you could save that to your template location. Let me show you where that comes from in a second here. But I'm going to say don't save and proceed, so that will load all of these settings for this. So where is that coming from? I should have showed you this before, but it's coming from right here. So I'm driving my folder to my labels right here, to my label templates. In your case, you would probably do that in a network so everybody can get rid of or get access to them, but that's where they come from. So all of those have been loaded into that template folder for this presentation. So as I do this, we have a number of other settings. I can label things in the current drawing, which is this one. I can include additional drawings. I can include XREFs too if I wanted to reach into an XREF and label some things. If I had a whole series of drawings, I could do all of that at once. And then the entire model space, I could do it specific to layouts or selected layouts, and then select my viewports that I want to do. Today, we're just going to be doing it in here. Future webinars and past have showed some of these other settings here. So as I load this in here, so I'm general notes, and it goes ahead and it finds the feature line because that's what I did. So with that, I have to find my feature lines. Now I save these out with no settings attached to it because it might be different for every case, every situation. And so we can do this also in a number of ways to label these things. So I can pick them individually, or I can do it by layer. Any one of these I can do. So I'm going to just do this by the layer, and I'm going to grab this right here. So these were all created on their own layers. So we've got The lot pads that we graded in our previous webinars, we called them lot pads for full basement walkouts. Right away, we see it found 17 objects, so there's 17 pads that we're going to label. And if I had labeled anything previously and I didn't like them or didn't want them, I would select this. I don't have anything, so I'm going to deselect that one. And then we have to set where do we want these to land. And we have a whole list of things. If you were doing a long feature line, you could do it at intervals if that's what you wanted. For these, I'm going to do it at the point of intersection, so it's going to do every point where the lines connect. We could do it to through points. That's pretty much the same thing in this case. And then the begin, we don't need the end because that's going to be a point. It's a closed polyline, so all we need is to do these points of intersection and our begin. So I'm just going to say okay right there. And now we go back to our formatting tab, and I showed you this already. We have some other things we could add right here if we wanted to kick some of these over. We'll kind of show you a little bit of that here again in a second. But some of the setup that we need to do ahead of time to make these go. So marker style, I have a marker style called basic spot, which is just an X, and that's right from your marker styles in your tool space. So then I gave them a little offset here too with this template to make them land just a little bit away from there. In fact, let me put those to 0, then we'll come back to show you why I set those at 2 for that. So we're at that, I'm ready to go. I just hit add, and it says it's going to add 136 labels all at once. So it's going to pull the spots right from the feature lines and put them on the feature lines for our grading. So we know what these elevations should be at every one of these breakpoints. And it took care of all of the lots with the full basement walkouts. So I did that just to show you what's happening there. Some of these could be re-rotated, has to do with the style, and you could certainly do those individually if you felt like they weren't quite up to printable standards. But with that, we can add those. So we see how quick that went. So what if I wanted to add the rest of these? I could do that in a couple of ways. I could have grabbed it right away. I'm going to open Label Genie back up. I could have grabbed them right away, but for presentation, I'm going to show you right here. So they're all on a pads layer. So I can just give it a wildcard right here and hit the refresh. And now it says it found 33. Likewise, I could just come and just pick it again too. So we'll get the same number either way. It's just a quick way to get at it if you do things consistently across your drawings. You could even leave that populated in your template and you wouldn't have to do anything. So as you can see, I get the same number there. I say okay, don't have to set up anything else, it's ready to go. So it's going to update 136 and add, I didn't catch how many, but a lot. So we added another 64. So it's a substantial number of labels we just added. Did the same thing. These are slab on grade lots, so we don't have any break to them. And just like that, we've created spot elevations for our lot pads. Let's go over a couple other things we can do with Label Genie. So if you weren't using parcels for this and doing labels and smaller site like this, and you did it using polylines and grading lines like we have here for this, which probably a lot of you do, whatever your workflow is out there. Another option, we can label these lots. We can do those all at once too with areas. And what that's going to need is this block right here. And this is just a block with attributes attached to it that Label Genie is going to pull to populate the area and the lot number. I'll show you how that works. If this is something also you'd be interested in, let me know. I'll share this block with you. It's pretty slick how it works. So let's go back into Label Genie. And again, to save time, I've created, ahead of time, I created a template for it. So if I load it, it's going to come again with that warning every time it's going to come, and it's already pathing us to everything we need. But again, I made it generic, so I left it open, which means we will have to pick our lots. So to start with, I'm just going to do this one here. So these are all drawn on separate layers for all these. So these are block 3 lots only. So then where do we want it? Where do we want those to land? Again, we can put it in a number of different places for these blocks. I'm going to put it in the centroid so it lands about in the center there. Shut that off again. And the view type, we only have, we do have, because it's blocks. Okay, so we have those types here, but this is going to be plan. And then again, we have to go to our formatting tab to get what we want. So this lot label block, I can pull from any other block I have in the drawing, but this block is loaded into the drawing, which I can then select to get it. And then what layer do I want it to go on? I'm going to put it on the CIM layer. But again, we can get a drop down here and put it on any layer that we choose to pick that. And then we don't have availability for this with this particular one. I'm going to select that as annotative, leave it at scale 1. Oh, I was going to show you. Let's move those lot labels there too, or elevation labels. So do that in a second here. So I don't need an offset for this one. I'm going to orient to the view. Some of the key things we need for this one is area. So we have our area right here. And here's a little selection for some of the things we can do. If you want to do a conversion factor, this is going to be in square feet, going by our ambient settings right here. So if I want it to be in acres, I would have to give it the conversion factor for that. Right here, this is unnecessary for this one. I'm going to leave it at 1. And then our precisions, how do we want those to go? We can do leading and trailing. I'm going to turn off the trailing in this case right here. So here we get a preview of what it's going to look like. So it's going to show us like that. I added this suffix for square feet. So I'm going to apply that right there. And now I'm going to go to our lot numbering. How do we get at that? So we have our counter right here. So we just double click on the ellipse right here. So I'm going to start at 1. I'm going to increment 1. And I'm going to give it a path to follow. So it's already selected right here. I'm going to clear that because it's got all of them. That came with my template. So I made this polyline right here for it to follow for numbering. So it's simply telling us the direction of where our number is going to start as it goes along to find these. So if I just pick that, I'm going to get all 5 again. Let me clear that. I'm just going to pick that one right now. So I'm going to pick that one right there. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to say also OK here. And now we're ready to label. So I'm going to tell it to add the labels right now. So it's going to add 7 labels. And I did something wrong with my numbering. Not sure what I did. Let's go back and look at that, try that again. So I told it to start at 1 and increment by 1. Let me try that path again. Says I have it. Okay, that's not updating. So let's try the other ones. Let's do this one up here. Not 100% what I've done there. Let's come back to this. I don't think I need that. Should have come in ready to go since I did it. Let's try it again. Clear that. Let's just grab them by layer this time. Say OK right there. Let's say OK. Come back. I'm going to grab this one right here. Now I have 12. And these numbered. Oh, now they're numbering. So I don't know exactly what happened there. But regardless, what I want to show you was this numbering format. So now if I wanted to change these numbers, if I wanted these to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, all I have to do is come in here and edit this. If I just do a P edit on this right here and tell it to reverse, because it's going to follow in the direction that I drew it. So let's do the same thing with this one. Reverse it, and then just rerun my label. So I have these down here too, but we didn't pick that those layers. So we'll do that in a second. So now you see it renumbered them. So I don't have to go back and reconfigure or figure out what these might be. And if I put the trailing on there, that will take those off too. But you see the renumbered. So let's go ahead and do the rest of these. So again, I could do this in a couple of different ways. As you saw, pick those by layer. I'm going to use the wildcard because they should be all on the same. I should have done them on the right layer. I can just add the wildcard. As you see, when I refresh, it grabbed now 31. It sounds reasonable. I'll say add. It's going to add 19, update the 12 we have on there. And we'll leave all those. So let's fix these corner labels, or these feature line labels, as I showed you before. So we wanted those to be a little bit off. We don't want them to be crowded right there. That's what that offset is for. So let me just go back and redo that real quick. Shouldn't take much time since I already have those in a template. So I'll reload that template. It is this one right here, spots on a feature line. I'm going to load it. I tell it, don't save that one. So general notes. I'm going to have to do this again because it came without those. So I'm going to grab that one. I'm going to grab this one. Again, I could have done it by wildcard. So it has those. So our formatting, and here it came with the 2. I'm actually going to give it 2.5. .25 and 0.25. Okay, I don't need to change anything else. Let me pull this over here. You'll see these will move slightly. All 200 of them updated that quickly. If I wanted to change the rotation, anything like that, you saw those shift, I could do that too. Maybe I didn't want that. I could have done that a little bit more probably than the 2.5, but it looks pretty good. So we got our lots labeled. We got our pads labeled. And now let's do some other labeling here. So a couple other things we could do, some typical labeling. See, a question just came in. I'll get to that in a second here. Actually, I'm going to save that for the end. So we've done that. Some other things we can do is we can pull station offsets for any number of things here. So I can label, if I needed to stake out these light poles, for instance, I could pull a station offset for those right there, and the guys in the field could enter that into their data collector and stake those up. So again, with our Label Genie saved as a template, if that's something you do on a regular basis, I have, again, done that one. And it is this one right here, station offset for blocks. And it is generic. So it just gets you started in the right way, but it changes our anchor or our label type to a station offset label. And then what's our anchor object? It's blocks. So I need to select my blocks. I'm going to do this by layer this time. So it found 7 light poles. So with this, some of the things I said that we need for some of these are specific to what's required of the label type. So here's our anchor point. I'm going to leave it at origin. And for this one, we have a required object. This is something we need to pay attention to when we're doing this. So we need an alignment for this. Which I don't see. So I believe it's called Mills Drive centerline. Let's try that. Oops, that's style. That's why. Mills Drive. In fact, I'm going to try this. There, we got it. So it's down here. It just, for whatever reason, is not on right now. But I can get at it because I know the name of it here. So I said Mills Drive. We've got it. We've got our alignment. Now we come to our formatting tab, and it's going to put this style. I created a station offset tag style for this. With this, I don't need a marker style. I'm going to leave all of this at 0. The style already has a rotation to it, which I like for a typical labeling for this case right here, so I don't need that. You can use any style you want, any of those that are available there. So with that, I should be ready to go. I'll put it on that same cyano layer and add it. Let's try that again. Must have a layer frozen. Let's try a different layer this time. Something within the tag or the marker style. Shouldn't be. Let me just try a different layer. Just try layer 0. So it knows they're there. There they are. There they are. Just we're on an off layer for whatever reason. But there we have our station offset for our light poles. But you might be thinking, hey, isn't that a different alignment up there? And what's going to happen here? Yeah, that clearly isn't right. Right there, we would want to come off of this alignment right here, which is this Mills lane. So for that, I can just take those off. And this is a quick part about Label Genie. If you see something like that, I don't have to erase them and put them back on if there was, as we saw in the case of the other one, hundreds. So now I can just select the ones I want to label for this alignment, any that are falling on this alignment, and I probably would do just those two. Let's just do those two. Now let's do these two. So I'll grab the block. So we'll do those 4 off of this main alignment. I'll say OK right here. I'm going to tell it to delete the previously created labels. I'm going to tell it to add. So it's going to update 4 and delete the 3 that were up there. So now they're out of the way. I don't even have to go find them, get them out of the way. I know they're gone. And I can continue and do the same thing to get these labeled. So quickly with Label Genie, a couple of quick changes, and we'll be ready to label those. So I can clear these out and pick the other 3. So I'll pick those 3. So I got those. And now I have to change my alignment from drive to lane. In that case, not typed, but it's not case sensitive, so it shouldn't matter. So I change that, OK. And I shouldn't need to do anything else, just tell it to run. So we can see those there. Oops, I don't want that selected. So you get that warning, luckily, to put those back. So now these are reflective of this alignment and offset. As we can see right there, Mills Lane, 651, so they pulled from there. So one other thing is labeling for the names and stuff of these in plan view of these pipe networks. We can do them in profile as well. They have been done up here. I did use Label Genie for that. I'm not going to get to that today. It's the same process. I'm just going to show you how how we get there and some of the things we need for it. This one has some other specific needs that we need to do our pipe networks. So I'll open Label Genie back up. And again, I've created a template for, we'll do the storm networks first. Let me load my storm one. Put them down here at the bottom for demo. So I made this one right here, demo pipe network for storm in plan. So I'm going to load that in. And right away, it changes all of that right there. I think I still need to select them, so I did leave it generic, but I can just go grab the pipe network right here, and we'll start with this one. We'll just do this storm right here. So that's the whole network. There's 15 objects it's going to label. And in the plan, don't get this mixed up. If you wanted to do it in profile, it would find the profile that they're on. So select that for plan. And then in the formatting over here, it's looks a little different than the other ones. So we have to do some style mapping right here. So what you see, what the template did is it loaded already for the layering that we want our labels to go on, but we still need to style map this. So we can pull from all of our parts lists. So I pulled all of these in, and I simply did that by selecting this right here. So I did import part list, and what it does is it goes and it looks for all of the part lists that you have in your drawing, so it can match those up here. So here's are the ones we have. So this is the one I use for the storm, the parts list for the storm. So it separates out the structures and the storm. And right here, I've already set this to storm pipe lane name. So any name that you have for your label styles in your pipes, you'll pull from right here. But since I've already selected that one, and likewise for the structures, I don't need to do that for instance of time here. But you would just go pick if you wanted different label styles for different parts of the size family, whatever, you can certainly direct that right there. So some of the things we need for that. So if I say OK right here, everything else I believe should be ready to go. So it's going to add 15. And it's given them all by name right here. And I could give those material type a number of different ways, whatever you have labeled in here. So I've got these numbered by the network name and the structure within that network. But we don't have to be limited to that. We can do all of these at once. So let me come back and we'll just add these to it as well. So I can just leave all the settings the way they are. All I need to do is add these other two networks to it to take care of all of this at once. And this can save a lot of time when doing these storm networks in plan view, that you don't have to come back and do them one at a time. And if you added, while you were making those, you wanted to change them, the style for them, we can do that very quickly here too. So I'm going to say to add, it's going to add 16. And everything is consistent all the way across. Everything's done for that one. And likewise, we can do it with our sanitary line. So let's do the sanitary as well. I don't keep you guys here too much longer. Show you this. We could also do offsets for the back of curve points if that's what we wanted for staking. A lot of options out there for Label Genie, a lot of creative things. Like I said, just about anything you can label with your annotate tab, we can also do here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick the one I made for this. which I put down here at the demo. So you see how if you had new team members, they don't have to know all this other setup, all this other stuff. It's right there for them. So this one already came with it. I did this shortly before. So this one, in fact, should be ready to go even with my formatting, just to show how quickly we can do these things. So our style mapping should all be the same. I'm going to just double check right here. I believe it was this part network. So I'm seeing that looks good. That looks good. So just names, and we're going to give slope material for our pipes in this case. And our layering and everything was good. So just that quickly we did all that. So if you wanted to change how these were, if you just wanted to give them names like you did there, just go back and remap them, and everything is created for you that quickly. Of course, you still have to do some cleanup here. Places like this, it's not going to be perfect for you, but gets most of the work done for you. So just some of the more typical things you might label in a plan like this to get it out the door. It's really all I had to show you guys today. So again, it's part of our CIM project, or it is our CIM Project Suite. We also have our Manager Suite that helps for managing your drawing templates, and more geared for CAD support people and CAD managers. So if you don't have it and you would like to get it, contact your local reseller. If they do not offer it, you can contact us directly here at ctcsoftware.com. We'd be happy to help you out. Also, if you have any ideas or need help, contact us here at support. Most of these tools have been created and then revamped for you, the user, so we always like your input. Any ideas you have out there that might help you get your job done more efficiently, we'll certainly take a look at that. And with that, I thank you all for joining us today for another CTC software webinar. We hope to see you at the next one.